Hello, whiskey folk. How are we all? 9:45 on another Thursday for another vPub live stream. Welcome, everybody. Welcome if you're joining in the lounge here, and welcome, of course, if you're picking this up after the event on the replay, which so many of you do. It's really, really excellent to get all your comments there as well. Wonderful to see everybody in tonight. Quite curious as to how you're going to receive tonight's subject, what you think about it. It was one I was thinking about doing quite a long time ago, actually, quite a bit into last year, I would say. And it kind of just dropped off the topic list and it never popped into my head again. But Everwind was speaking to me this week and said he had an epiphany. He sent me a message to explain and describe an epiphany to me. And it kind of inspired this subject. Not because, can I just say at the outset, not because I am particularly knowledgeable about this or even good at it, because I'm not and I'm neither, but because I think there are people out there that's going to be good at it and has got some good ideas about how to manage home blending, whether you do an infinity bottle or a Solera bottle, whether you do your own concoctions or you try and recreate lost things, all of that stuff. There are things that I do here and I'll share with you, of course. You might be interested in that. But I'm just as likely to make a mess of it as I am to make something that's nice. Anyway, welcome to everybody. There's so many of you in the lounge already. Pull up a seat and tell us, are you drinking from your infinity bottle tonight? Let's jump in and see who's waiting this evening. We've got Matt Wally. Good to see you, Matt. Marcus Kreitner is in. Hi, Marcus. Is Christina next to you tonight? Good to see you both. Hopefully she is. Richard Kirschenbaum is in. I'm sorry, Richard, if I'm making a mess of the pronunciation of your surname there. Graham Young, good to see you in. Graham, Donald Rance, Simon Ray, Amy is in, of course. Amy, great to see you. Wonderful to have you in again. Laddie is in. That's Rombout from Netherlands. I've actually got a wee note. I watched one of your videos earlier this evening about this very subject, Rombout, before we went live tonight. Jimmy Jazz is in. Apu de Geest is in. Good to see you again, Apu. How are you keeping, my friend? Wonderful to have you back again. Whiskey Novice is here. Fantastic to welcome you back again. Gregor from France is here. Good to see you, Greg. Paul Gibbs is in. Chad Adams, Scotch on the Bayou, which is Leanne, of course. Wonderful to see you in, Leanne. Toby Field. Hey, Toby, how are you keeping? Moses, you might. Moses, I'm sure that's Moses. I'm never quite sure how to pronounce your handle. I apologise if I'm getting it wrong. Let's just call you Moses for easiness. Andy is in and Art Baggy. Fantastic. Colourless Blue Things. Good to see you back again. Good to see you again. Aquaviti, good topic. I have a mini infinity bottle, only 50 cl, but haven't sampled it yet. 1 dram to go in first, then a couple of weeks to marry. Yes, good policy. Colourless Blue Things. Good to have you back again. Caskmate is in. Fantastic to see you, Matthias. How are you? Gillian B is in as well. How are things over there in the east of Scotland, Gillian? How are you? Razvan is in. Good to see you, my friend. Ebhead Rolf from Norway. Wonderful. James Black. That looks like a new name, James. He's saying hello from New Zealand. Now, you're not the only New Zealander in. I did spot someone else who's tuning in the early hours of the morning. I can't pick up their name right now, but there's at least another New Zealander in tonight. Fantastic. Thanks for joining. I hope it's not too early down there for you to have a dram along with us. Although it's Friday for you guys, so it may be. Prestige Liquids. Andrew is saying you have the International Council of Whisky and the vPub. This is great. Richard Hall is saying, good evening, Roy. Even all you other whisky folk, all set with a dram of House Islands Infinity Blend. Good theme, Richard. Fantastic. Exactly the type of thing that I kind of want to touch on. Yes. So I've got a couple of infinity bottles here. I've actually got 3 active infinity bottles just now. One downstairs is almost dead. I've kind of let it go up, perhaps a wee bit too low, but I wasn't enjoying it that much. The one that I've left downstairs is a peated, just a regular peated infinity bottle. And what I mean from an infinity bottle is something that once it gets down to a certain point, you make a minimum limit, then you start to top it back up again so that it never ever runs dry. And the theory being that whatever you put in there is always going to be in there, just in ever diminishing amounts, right? That's my interpretation of an infinity bottle, of which this is one. This is the old Aqua Vitae logo. It's quite sad, isn't it? But I made this and I stuck it on. And I called it a Solera before I understood what a Solera actually was. Now, a Solera is a slightly different take on the theme. I'll talk about that in a wee minute. But this is my first infinity bottle. I'll go through some of the things that I originally put in this, but I quickly ran out of space on these stickers and I started to keep a record on my phone of what I was putting in it. So this one's reasonably up to date. I kind of know what's in this. And it's mostly really nice stuff that's in this, nice things. Very little peat. There's no peated anything in this apart from maybe some Springbank or Highland Park. Very lightly peated stuff. Then I've got this one. Both of these are litre bottles, by the way, so I just like to use the bigger bottles to do this. I've got this one, and this is one that I really, really abuse. Anything goes in this. This one has got, everything has an age statement. I know the age of everything. This is 9 years old currently. The youngest component is a 9-year-old in this. This is anything. This is bourbon. This is Scotch. There's some English whiskey in here. There's Irish, I'm sure. The world whiskies all over. Everything's in here. And I have to be honest with you, I sipped a wee bit of this yesterday evening. And I'm quite impressed with it. I'll sip it again tonight and see how it's holding up. So tell me, how do you interpret, if we just talk about an infinity bottle first, is your interpretation the same? That idea that you're trying to curate something out of perhaps some of the nicer whiskies or whiskies that you would like to keep on an infinity basis. You don't kind of want them disappearing. You want them at least here in spirit in some form, if you pardon the pun. Egghead Rolf is saying, just started my infinity bottle a few weeks ago, only 4 whiskies, Glendronach 18, good start, nice sherry meaty base, Deanston 18, Kilchoman Loch Gorm, and Kilkerran 12. So you've already gone in with the peat. You've already stuck in a big chunk of Kilchoman. Now, the reason that I've got a peated one downstairs is I had just another regular infinity that I was going that was made up of mostly lighter whiskies. But I was doing a similar thing here. I was being careful with it. But I put in a 10 cl pour. It's a 4-ounce pour. So I guess that's it's a fairly decent measure, actually. It's about 3 or 4 decent drams, isn't it, of Kalila into the bottle. But it was nearly full at this time. And I rendered the whole bottle very, very peaty. It was incredibly peaty just with that Kalila going into it on the top of very, very light whiskies. It rendered the whole bottle peated. And then as the level went down, I just started to top it up and keep it peated whiskies. And eventually all my peated whiskies went in there and I stopped keeping track of what was going in that bottle. I'm not that in love with it. So I'm wondering, should I bring it back to life? It's down to about 2 inches. Or should I just kind of do the decent thing and kill it off and start again? It's been one to sip over ice, if I'm honest. Christina is in. Good to see you, Christina. She's been popping in just to show my love. Off to class. Yes, you're studying just now. Thursdays are hard for you, Christina. It's really nice of you to drop in. 3 more weeks and I'll be in on the regular again. Love you guys. Have a great vPub. I'll catch you on the replay. Thank you so much, Christina, for popping in just to say hello. I'm looking forward to you doing well at school and having you back here again. Caskmate is saying, Aqua Vitae, in my mind, infinity bottles are a clusterness or a cluster mess of your track record in whiskey. That's a good way of looking at it. You can make it however you want, but it's a cool way to have all your whiskies in one bottle. Absolutely. That's another way of doing it when you're not so precious. I suppose a wee bit like this one. I wouldn't say it's a track record of all my whiskies, but it's kind of when you have those wee pores left in the bottom of a bottle and you just kind of tip it into the infinity and mix it up a bit. So you've got one that you're using as a little cookie trail. Do you keep notes? Because I found that I was keeping far too many notes. I was generating data that I'll never refer to, right? Everwind is saying, good to see you, Everwind. You're obviously the inspiration for tonight's theme. She'll probably tell you what Everwind came to me with. I got a message from him to say, yeah, on your theme of epiphanies, I had a bit of an epiphany this week. I was sipping a glass of Balblair, he said, and I reached for my second dram and he was either too lazy or too comfortable or whatever it was to get up and switch. He said, I'll use the same glass. But he tipped some Glen Grant into the Balblair glass, not realizing that there was still a chunk of Balblair left in the glass. And he just said, oh, I'll just drink it anyway. And he inadvertently made an absolutely wonderful dram that he was really pleased with. Now, I've got a theory here that he had originally got a shock that he's ruined this whiskey, right? He's like, oh no, I've ruined this Balblair. And he's kind of worried that it's going to taste awful. And then realized that it actually tastes quite pleasant. So I wonder if it's that, or did you genuinely make a fantastic blended malt between Glen Grant and Balblair? But he said that this struck him as a bit of an epiphany. And it sounds like everyone hasn't experimented doing that kind of thing at home, whereas I do it quite a lot. Sometimes very small scale in the glass in a very small bottle, and sometimes on a bigger scale like this. But he's saying, I'm not sure I will ever have an infinity bottle. When I get to the heels, I feel it is my obligation to drink share before its personality is lost. Well, in that case, why don't you just take a slice out of the bottle for an infinity bottle before you finish it, so that you're not giving up the heel, Everwind? It is genuinely a good, fun way to enjoy your whiskey. Castmate, Everything Whiskey is saying, Solera, on the other hand, is to create consistency rather than an interesting blend. Well, there is that, but to my mind, a Solera is different in the idea that Solera is kept full. So whatever you take out of it, so imagine you've got this Solera bottle that's ongoing, and you take it out and you share it with friends, and everybody has some of it, and whatever level it's taken down to, before it gets put back in its shelf to marry, the whiskies are put in to top it back up. Now, both Infinity and Solera bottles can be single malt, of course. You can do what Scott Monroe is doing. He's got a bottle at home just now full of just Clynelish. And he's got, I don't know, a couple of dozen Clynelish, all in the same bottle. All various ranges. And of age, I think it runs from about 10 or 11 years through to way high up into the 20-odd years old. But what he's done there is he's made a single malt. It's still a single malt. Everything is Clynelish. So you can either just let the level run down and then top it up again and just keep managing it like that, or little by little. Or a Solera is a kind of more regimented thing that you top off whatever you take out, much in the same way that they would do in a Solera system when they're maturing wines or sherries in a Solera system. Our Baggy's saying, my Infinity bottle is a mix of bottle ends and samples and dregs from tasting that the society does everything and anything, and it tastes good at the moment. That's very similar to a guy we've got at the Whiskey Club who makes a wee Infinity bottle out of the dregs of his glasses from every Whiskey Club meeting, and then he takes it home and adds it to his Infinity bottle at home. So he's got a massive selection of all sorts of crazy whiskies in this thing, and he seems to be really quite pleased with it. That's Roy Evans. Are you in tonight, Roy? Tonight I'm sipping a sample I got from Jason at Malt. And Jason gave me actually a finished one from him already. I've had this over 2 nights. It was absolutely fantastic. A bit of a paint taste from this, if I'm honest. Bit of acrylic paint, oil paint, that kind of taste. But it's not in a bad way. This was really quite a rich, nice experience. But this is Cameron Bridge, Grain Distillery in the east of Scotland, owned by Diageo. This is a 36-year-old Cameron Bridge, 40.3%. So perhaps it was getting close to not being whiskey anymore, and it was bottled. But really delicious. I had half of that tonight and finished it off before I poured another one from you, Jason, which is an SMWS 93-109, which I checked up quickly before I went live. 93 is Glen Scotia. And this is quite tasty. It's certainly got that Glen Scotia character going on. So that's what I was sipping with tonight. It's higher ABV, this one, quite a bit. 62.3%. Wow. I have put a nice scoosh of water in it because both my Infinity bottles have a lot of cask strength whiskey in it as well. So let me ask you, are you in any way mindful of the ABV? Do you have one for kind of cask strength whiskies and keep the lighter stuff separate? or do you just go right ahead and mix it up? Our bag is saying, sorry, I've picked that one up. We can't find rarely, Doc. Great to see you in, Doc. I'm looking forward to welcome you. God, that's Glasgow's only 3 weeks away, isn't it? The gathering in Glasgow's on the 18th of May. Wow, it's coming fast. Theoretically, an infinity bottle should be very complex, but it's not that simple, I'm afraid, right? If I'm honest, complex is one way of putting it. When I first make an infinity bottle, what tends to happen is that there's a kind of loud blanket of something that lays across the top of everything else, and you struggle to taste past it. But then you put it aside and you leave it for a few weeks or however long you need to leave it, and you go back to it again, and that's changed. It's had time to marry, and the flavors are a bit more integrated. And you do get that complexity. So you do get that scenario where you're kind of skipping about all over the place, where there's lots of different things going on, of course, because it's an infinity bottle. But sometimes, like this one right now, this is tasting very, I wouldn't say it's soft, but it's much softer than I imagined it would be. After I finish this Glen Scotia, I'm going to pour one of each. And then I've brought a couple of bottles up that I'm going to top off, or I'm going to add to this infinity bottle here. But this one, not so much. This is such a mishmash that what I'll do is keep using this for tails and heels. Our Baggy's saying that's the Bartels bottle. I wonder if that's the Cameron Bridge he's talking about, probably. Toby, Paul Gibbs is saying he mixes it up, and Toby Fields is saying ABV isn't a concern for me. Yeah, you can get a wee bit uptight about it, to be honest with you. Roy Evans is in. He's saying, cheers, Aquaviti, sitting here watching you on the big TV again. Neil and Dave said my Glasgow Whisky Club Infinity was the best nose they smelled last year. But the taste wasn't quite as awesome. Maybe a bit muddled. I think that's the inevitability of it. When you do play with these infinity bottles, there can be just so much going on. Like I said, I'm going to try these again tonight and see how, because I was enjoying them last night. I thought they were okay. Oliver is in. Good to see you, Oliver. He's saying, what do you think about using gifts you don't enjoy as much to fill out the whiskey of the infinity as a base? Absolutely, it's another way to do it. So what you can often do is take a couple of dud whiskies that you don't really enjoy too much, whether it be a blend, a cheaper whiskey, something that the flavor's just not sitting right with you, you don't love it, it's a bit too sickly, a bit too sweet, something. And just give it up to experimentation. Get a big bottle, throw some stuff in, you don't need to use it all, throw some other stuff in that you might think balance it out, have a wee sip, try it, don't judge it, put it aside and leave it. And see if you can recover or make good out of some of the dud whiskies that are maybe spending too much time in your cabinet, right? Good thing, Oliver. Love Street, good to see you. He's saying 18th is turning into a festival. Yes, I have to say that I think I would say that the tasting was limited. There was only a small tasting room. That's just how many people that we could fit in there. And I was taken aback. I might have tried to find a bigger venue if I'd realised how quickly that was going to sell out. But I think it's better to underestimate these things than overestimate them. So yeah, that's the point of the gathering. The main event is just for us all to get together in the Bon Accord on North Street and just have this kind of casual. So drop in for an hour if you can, drop in for the night. It doesn't really matter. There's no tickets or anything. And we'll all just kind of be trying to make some space for us, however many there are of us in the Bon Accord. And before the Bon Accord, there's going to be some space for you all to get together and get something to eat and put a nice lining in your stomach. For example, right round the corner from Bon Accord is a fantastic curry house in Glasgow that's big enough to take lots of people, and that's Akbar's. That's right round the corner. It's easy walk down to the Bon Accord after there. So we've made Rolf Ebhead, he's in tonight, fantastic guy, and thank you so much, Rolf, for taking the initiative here. He's made a Facebook group. It's a closed group. You do need to apply to join it, I think, but only join it if you are going to be coming along to the gathering, because that's what it's for. It's for people to meet up, get together, decide what tours they're going to do, how they're going to meet up on the Friday night. It's the pot still, it looks like, on the Friday night, what tours and things they're going to do on the Sunday, and whether or not anything's available on the Monday. And of course, you always have the ability to meet up for lunches and dinners and that kind of thing as well. One of the best things you can do with this whiskey community is find ways to take it into the human realm, the real world. It's really, really great fun. Love doing it. I love being able to meet people in the flesh and seeing that it's not just icons and text, it's real people. Skogsmard is in and he's saying, how often do you blend whiskies in the glass? Quite often. I'll just be sitting there with a couple of bottles in front of me, and I'll just take a wee drop and pour it on top of the other one and leave it for a bit and come back to it. I'm not really trying to achieve anything, and I haven't ever, I think, well, there's a couple of times, there's something I like to do, and I do play with this quite a lot, and it's the idea that you might be able to recreate a Brora style product. Okay, so Brora is a whiskey that shouldn't have really existed, but it ended up existing. It's a great, great story. One of these days I'll share the story on a stream. It's a really cool story. But Brora was originally peated, and it was quite generously peated way back at the start when it was first being made, late 60s, early 70s. And over time, the peating levels dropped, more or less. There were some spikes and bumps, but the peating levels dropped. But Brora is basically Clynelish, and made at the old Clynelish facility, not the new one. And it was never originally supposed to be that heavily peated. But Diageo, or DCL at the time, needed a plan B, and they ended up making peated malt at the old Clynelish facility that became known as Brora. And it was just left. They didn't really know what to do with it over time, and eventually started to bottle it and sell it as a single malt. And this thing, as it turned out, had aged beautifully. Just one of the most incidental things, one of the most incidental malts out there. It wasn't really designed to be what it ended up becoming. I've just had a virtual dram-in over PayPal from Alec Lewis. Alec, thank you very, very much for sending that. That's a super, super thing to do. Thank you. I'm going to raise a glass to Alec in the hope that he's actually watching. If you are, say hello in the chat, Alec. Sláinte, my friend. So I like to try and recreate Brora. So of course what I do, I'm actually going to take the not so nice one first in this Craigellachie bottle. You can tell it's not Craigellachie, you can see just how dark that is. I should really just remove the label of this and get another wee sticker on it so I know what it is, lest I forget. Don't pour too much of it in case it isn't that nice after that gorgeous Glen Scotia. Yeah, so when I make a Brora, I take some old Clynelish, cask strength preferably, and I try and add something from Islay, for example. So I'll add a Lagavulin or a Caol Ila or something. And the best one I ever made is I made a small 20cl bottle and I called it Brogus, and I kept trying to make this again, and I never quite got it the same again. But it was from Clynelish, a 25-year-old Clynelish from Signatory Vintage, gorgeous whiskey, topped off with a little bit of 1983 cast strength Caol Ila. It was sublime. I just sealed it and put it aside, and it was sat there for months. And when I went back to it, it was wonderful. And I think I could have put that in front of anybody and told them it was peated Brora. And I think they would have bought it. I would never, ever do that. I would never do that. And if you've ever received a Brora sample from me, I promise you it was Brora. In fact, and the only Brora I've ever had and sent out as samples was a 1982 Brora with absolutely no peat in it at all, or very, very little. So that's a very specific creation I'm trying to make, Skogsmard. So I'm trying to create a very specific thing. I'm not doing a great job. I'm no John Glazer, let's put it that way. Let's try and catch up. Castmate Matthias is saying, I was very anxious to blend whiskies because I had an obscure idea in my head that it was sacrilege until I did it, and it changed my understanding of creating whiskey. Yeah, we sometimes get a wee bit too precious. And, you know, if we've got something that we really love that's a single malt, I can understand that you don't want to blend it away. You don't want to give it up to making a mess of something. But it can be fun. And I know that it's very, very one-off and unique, and you might never be able to recreate it again. But listen, we're always chasing that thing in whiskey, aren't we? That's the reason we love all this variation, this endless supply of new expressions and new distilleries and the granularity of, oh, we love this. So we can do that. We can smash it into smithereens at home as well and make infinite different strains and flavors and experiences sitting at home with our little vials and our little funnels and our empty litre bottles or smaller, and just seeing what we can create little by little. The Alchemist is saying amazing lamb chops. He's talking about akbars. The starter to go for at akbars is the lamb chops. You don't need to know what they're called. Just say the lamb chops for starters, and they're gorgeous. And you have to, when you're at akbars, order the traditional Glasgow elephant's ear naan bread. The naan bread is absolutely huge. It's got to be, I don't know, close to 2 feet in height, and it comes on a steel tree, and they just sit it on this big naan bread on your table, and you just tear from it and share around the table. Very good place to have Indian food in Glasgow, of which there are a number of places. Mark Slinger is saying he's up for a curry. Fantastic, Mark. And I have to say thank you to Mark as well. Mark was able to source for me a very special bottle for the Epiphany tasting in Glasgow on the 18th. So you're in for a treat. Thanks to Mark Slinger, if you're able to attend that tasting. And if you're not, I'm sorry, it is sold out. Daniel Vermas is saying best food available in Glasgow. The food that's easy and tasty. Anything you want to eat, pretty much, I think you can find in Glasgow. Hoyt is saying curry sounds great. I think curry's always popular. Is Eric Waite in? I notice people waving to Eric Waite. Fantastic if you are in. Eric, there he is there. He's saying hello from California. Wonderful to welcome you in, my friend. Eric, with your wine experience, would you consider blending whiskies at home in an amateurish way? Good fun or folly? What would you recommend? I caught Eric Waite appearing on the Whiskey Tribe channel recently. It was really good fun. And of course, Eric was here in Scotland last year, and I got to spend some time with Eric. I'm looking forward to seeing him again in Texas in October. So let's have a wee sip of this odds and ends. This is not Scotch. This infinity bottle is everything. There's a little bit of literally everything in here. But if I remember well from last night, it was very, very heavily sherried, and I think I took a huge chunk of Aberlour Abuna to add some richness into it at one point. Yes, still there. But this is nice. This has had long enough in that bottle without me throwing new stuff on it now. For some months, I would say. This is needing topped off again. It's too low. But it's sitting nice. Zach Andrews is in. He's saying he needs to start a blended bottle. Good to see you in, Zach. And yes, you definitely do. Skogsmard is saying, so why is the day to tell the Brora story not today? I suppose you're right. Well, because I would like to make a big deal of it. And I would perhaps like to actually have some Brora in front of me to sip and talk about Skogsmard. For so many whiskey lovers, Brora is the holy grail, if you like. Rombout is saying, I blend in equal portions 10 ml per dram that I added 10 ml or 10 cl. No know-how behind it. Yeah, that's the thing. You just do it on whatever formula you want to go, and then work it out if you want to switch it up or add more of something to take it in a certain direction. Or you can just stick to your formula and just monitor how it's going. Ebhead is saying, anybody see Malt Reviews Lafroig Samaroli video? A holy moment. I remember you talked about Samaroli once. Yes, I haven't seen that. Is it on the Malt Review site? I need to go and have a look. I do try to keep up with Malt Review, but my time very recently has become even more acute. I'm in my last week of working for my employer after 20 years of working with them. and this is I'm trying to close out lots of things right now and finish off some projects, and I'm really, really behind with almost everything. Next stream's theme then, Skogsmard is saying. Yeah, I'm out of Brora right now. And I don't know when I'm next going to get any Brora. It's not easy to come by. Whiskey Radar is saying, great, now you make me hungry. Now I have a hankering for lamb curry and naan. sorry about that. Steve A, good to see you in, Steve. He's saying, I do a straight pour, 1.5 ounce, add a new 1.5 ounce in aqua vitae. Let's have a wee sip of this. There's a bit of smoke on this as well. High ABV, lots of fire. Taste a bit of bourbon in there as well, very sweet. Wonder if I've poured Elijah Craig in there or something. It's bizarre that I should be sitting here sharing, or even attempting to think about sharing tasting notes for something that you can't really get your hands on. It's very... But what I would say is that I think I could put that in front. That's been in that bottle long enough now. I think I could put it in front of people now, and they wouldn't be coming at it going, oh, is this an infinity? Have you been blending it at home? It's not all kind of shouting all over the place. There's not all sorts of layers and different things going on. It tastes quite integrated tonight, and it tastes also quite rich, which is exactly what I wanted to do with this, because it was at one point it was a wee bit thin and a wee bit fiery and hot, and I wanted to soften it out. I wanted to add a bit of body weight and richness to it. I remember that's the last time I filled this up was doing that, and a huge chunk of quite a nice Aberlour Rabuna went in there. Prestige Liquids, as Andrew's saying, do you think Fujikai could be fixed in an infinity? Listen, it's just a question of scale. You'd need an infinity vat to fix Fujikai. By the way, I don't think I've tasted Fujikai. I know Vin raves about just how bad it was, Vin at No Nonsense Whiskey, but I don't recall ever tasting it. I'm pretty sure that I would remember it if I did. Sam England is saying, good to see you, Sam. 20 years. He hoped they get you a good bottle of whiskey as a thank you gift. Well, it's not showed its face yet. We live in hope. But if I'm honest, when I go over to Milan, the head office is in Milan, and when I go over to Milan, the CEO and his son are both whiskey lovers, and there's usually a bottle exchange of some description goes on. The Puni whiskey, the Italian whiskey, the 5-year-old Puni Gold that I had as a gift from them, and they've gifted me some nice things in the past. Talking about gifts from work, one of the guys, Gary, thank you very, very much, Gary, was coming back from Taiwan, and he asked some questions about something typical Taiwanese to bring back. I've not opened this tube yet, so I'm just about to break the seal on it for the first time, but I've not even heard of this. This is from Nantou Distillery in Taiwan. It's called the Nantou Omar, and it is a single malt whiskey. And it says on it, our single malt whiskey, bourbon type, is distilled and bottled in Taiwan. The taste is so smooth with the flavors of floral, vanilla, citrus. It's the best choice for you. That's what it says on the bottle. Really cute. So I'm going to have a wee look at the bottle now. Gary, thank you so much for bringing me this back and sending it up to me. You're a star. I was very touched to get that through the post. And here we have it. Omar. Nantou Distillery. It's got a gold award sticker on it, so it must be great, right? Actually, I shouldn't judge. Just because I haven't heard of it doesn't really mean anything. I was going to check the yearbook there to see if Nantou Distillery appears in the yearbook, but if it's a genuine malt distillery, it probably will. And Gary tells me that it's one of their best sellers. So has anyone heard of the Nantou Distillery? Anybody tried Omar? The Alchemist Sevius say, no way. I just got a Nantou Omar last week. It's the sherry. Is it the sherry? No, this is a bourbon cask type. That's fantastic. So we can probably get together, Sevi, and share each other's. I've got the bourbon cask one, and you've got the sherry cask one. That is just too funny, too much of a coincidence. Jez is saying, open it and try it. It is good. Okay, Jez. Let's do that. I have confidence that I could pour a sample of that and nobody would pick it out as a blend. Let's have a tiny wee sip of my good blend and see how that matches up. You might pick up that tonight is kind of less structured than normal. And that's a little bit to do with how busy I've been, but it's also a little bit to do with the theme tonight. Greg is saying, yes, Roy, but I haven't tried it yet. And you'll learn more on Malt Whiskey Yearbook. So you know it's in there, Greg, do you? Nigel Slynn, good to see you. Nigel is saying, was lucky and surprised to receive a bottle of the new 12-year-old Balblair for recently getting engaged. They don't know about whiskey at all, but must have heard me muttering Balblair to myself. Well, I almost pulled the trigger. I was very, very curious. It's just a little north of £40, which is a bit pricey for a 12-year-old right now. For that Balblair 12-year-old, the new one that's out. Maybe the price will come down a wee bit, I'm not sure. But I almost bought it, but I waited. And I thought, well, what I'll do is if I do pick one up, I'll wait till I'm in a Good Spirits Company or something in Glasgow. And I'll pick one up from there. Just because, you know, I still love Balblair. And I still want the whiskey to be good, and I want the value to be good. And it seems like it's a wee bit more expensive. But of course, I'm one of the ones that talks about not comparing it to what it used to be, but comparing it to its peers and how it stacks up against its peers for the price and the presentation, of course. And they have stuck to their presentation principles. They've put it out there at a decent ABV, and they're talking about unchill filtered, no added colour, all the things that we like to see, and they're putting an age statement front and centre. So, you know, we're all in a huff about Balblair and the cynicism, especially that 25-year-old headliner at £500. I mean, come on. But let's wind it back down. Let's bring it back down to the stuff that we'll actually be buying, potentially. Sipping, sharing, and drinking. That's what we should be judging Balblair on. We can't find a rare doc is saying there's also a Nantu blend called Yushan. Wow. Okay, let's have a wee sniff of what I would hope is my better Infinity. And last night I couldn't pick these apart. That's how bad it is. It's a very, very briny note to this one. Very briny. I'd even go as far to say there's a bit of a stale rock pool smell from it. It's not appealing on the nose. Okay, the nose isn't great at all. I would say it's even changed in my memory from last night. Let's see how it tastes. Tastes much nicer than it smells. Lots of Springbank in there, I think. Lots of Highland Park Springbank style, soft peat, aromatics. Springbank funk is there. Let me just give you a rundown of how I started this off. I put in some Longmorn 16, the original green bottle. Aberlour 16-year-old Balblair 1999 Binrus, 15-year-old Springbank, 15-year-old Balvenie, 14-year-old Caribbean cask. Glenlivet 15-year-old French Oak, Clynelish 1995 20-year-old signature vintage, and a cast strength Longmorn from 1990 25-year-old. So decent stuff. And then 2 months later, I topped it up with some 21-year-old Bunnahabhain, some Brora, Glengoyne 25-year-old, Dalyun, an SMWS cast strength Dalyun that I absolutely loved. It was a gorgeous bottle. A hand-bottled Balblair, lots of Highland Park, a couple of different 18-year-old Highland Parks, a 21-year-old Highland Park, a 25-year-old Highland Park, Mortlach 15-year-old, a Craigellachie 13-year-old, Dalyun 17-year-old, Springbank 10, Springbank 15, and some Little Mill. Now, I've added other things to that since. But quite a lot of nice whiskies in there, or whiskies that I was enjoying at the time. But I would say if I had to pick a favourite between these two, this is much more vibrant and rich and more appealing in the nose. This doesn't have a nice nose at all. Yeah. Let's leave them in the glass for a minute, and I'll open this Taiwanese Nantu Omar. I kind of just snuck these in last week. I didn't talk about them. I picked one and I sipped out of it, and I wondered if anybody would notice. But I'm going to hold these up just to give you a wee sneak peek, because these have become something I'm playing with to being real. This is I hope you can see that. It's an Aquavitae Glencairn, which is kind of exciting to have your name on a Glencairn. I don't know why that excites me so much. And of course, the standard logo here. So the banner logo on this one, and the standard circular logo here. Now, of course, being Aquavitae, it's not whiskey till it's shared. These come as a set. These come as a pair. I launched these and shared them with my patrons last week to get some feedback and what they thought. And they were very, very pleased to see them. And I'm going to have to order more than I originally planned. So the order, the invoice, the pro forma invoice was sent through to me today, but I've added some more things to it and sent it back and asked them to reissue it again. So I'm hoping to get that invoice tomorrow. I'll be able to pay for them and place the order tomorrow, so that by sometime towards the end of May-ish, it'd be wonderful if I could get them for the gathering, but I doubt it very much. The lead time at Glencairn in Glasgow or East Kilbride is probably a wee bit longer than that. But yes, so I'm going to pour this Taiwanese Nantu Omar into an Aquavitae glass. They've been washed now. What is a cork? It says "Please tear off" across the top. It's very nice of them. Please tear off. Ah, it's broken. There we go. Let's see if Taiwanese whiskey makes a cork pop. Not bad. Not bad. Okay. The only other Taiwanese whiskey I think I've had is Kavalan. I'll let it sit in the glass for a little bit, but I would have to say that on first pour, that kind of a slight bourbon cask, almost paint type smell that I was talking about earlier on the Cameron Bridge is there. Also get that sometimes from Kavalan as well. Let's see what you guys are saying while we let Omar have a wee rest in the glass. Prestige Liquids, Andrew is saying, do you feel that using an infinity bottle is a great way of developing your nosing and tasting skills in comparison to using a regular branded bottle? Well, it's not going to help you define or categorize or narrow in on a distillery style or anything like that, but I think it does, because it just helps you focus and concentrate. And when you're blending at home, you're not really looking for specific things. You can't follow the tasting notes from a box or what your friends or somebody you trust has told you should taste in something. You're gonna just be kind of searching on your own. But I think anything that you do, if you take your time with whiskey at home, and especially if you write notes, which I really don't do enough, you do start to develop your skills there just through pure practice. Just through practice. John Paul Vanderhoven is saying, I'm thinking about using a small oak cask for a Solera Infinity vat. Any ideas on that? I have often been tempted by the idea, but I hear so many horror stories. I think that's really tough to do. John Paul. I think Matthias, who's in here tonight, he's tried it, he's experimented, and a few of the guys in here have had small tabletop, bar top style casks, the ones that they have to season and obviously soak and things before they even put any kind of whiskey in it at all. Daniel Vermas is saying, whoop, some proper aquaviti glassware. Yes, Daniel, yes. So, yeah, I'll share more details about that. Once I know that they've been ordered and they're definitely coming and they're on their way and everything's going to be fine with them. I need to sort out a website store. That's what I'm going to do. It's one of my targets for May. So it'll probably get done sometime in August. Colours Blue Things is saying, hey, no bottle top before popping. Did I forget Colours Blue Things? It wouldn't have mattered so much on a new bottle. Eric is asking, have you had any whiskies you didn't think were great, but they added certain aromas and flavours to other whiskies? The Jefferson's Ocean Bourbon is a wee bit too salty, but good for blending. Fantastic. I have to say, I think that's the reason I got some brininess, maybe, because there's a huge chunk of Talisker in one of these, if I remember well. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge Talisker. I like Talisker, generally like Talisker. I'm not a huge fan of the Talisker 10. It's a salt and pepper whiskey to me. And I think that would be much like the Jefferson's Ocean example you're using, Eric. That would be very similar, where you could probably take the things from other whiskies that you like, add it to the Talisker and see how it switches it up. Could you end up making something that's better than the sum of its parts? That's the target with these things. Mark is saying, Whiskey Whistles in. Good to see you, Mark. Thank you. What's Aquaviti making? Exciting stuff. Sorry, I am late. No problem, Mark. No problem at all. Whiskey Babbler is in. Fantastic to see you in. Whiskey Babbler, he's got a channel in Germany, a German-speaking channel over there. Good to welcome you in here. Jez Batty is saying, after paying invoices, glasses turn up quickly. I'm assuming you can do a collection. I was told, depending on how busy they were, that it could be 4 to 6 weeks from the Glencairn factory. So yeah, it might be a bit quicker. I'll keep in touch with everybody and help. Oh, Castmate has just sent in a virtual dram. Thank you so much, Matthias, my friend. He's saying he's heading out, buddy. Take care, Slant you. I hope I've not missed you, Matthias. Slant you, my friend. You're not here to share your cask maturation tips with us this week then. Maybe leave comments under the video after the event. Cheers, Matthias. Thank you very much for your virtual dram. I'm going into this Omar. Wow. That's a much cleaner experience than I expected. It's 46% ABV, but it's quite soft. It's quite rich. Lots of vanilla and honeydew melon. Fresh, clean fruit. There's a little bit of spice there, but it's bourbon cask, right? But I think it must be some fresh bourbon casks. And I don't know what the policies is with Taiwanese whiskey in terms of colour and things like that, but perhaps it's natural colour. They've presented it at 46% ABV, which is nice. And all the details on the back are in Chinese characters, so I can't really make anything out. There's maybe some reading on the tube. There's no insert. No, nothing on the tube other than the little passage that I read to you earlier, which finishes in, it's the best choice for you, which I thought was quite nice. But that's a remarkable whiskey. And for 46% ABV, it's very, very drinkable. Very Moorish. It's definitely got that paint thing on the nose. But sweet, lots of vanilla. Toffee chews, toffee sweets. Not getting a lot of fruit beyond maybe a kind of whiff of white fruit. On the palate, there's more fruit. Yeah, it's very melony. Very melony. Maybe not honeydew like with the aromatic melon. It's not honeydew, is it? It's what's the orangey coloured one? Gallia? Cantaloupe? I shouldn't use melon as a tasting note if I don't know my melons right. Mark Brown. Hi, Mark. Good to see you. Saying hi, Roy. Aquaviti checking in while I can from work. Yeah, I appreciate so many of you are doing your Skyvy thing. You've got your earbuds in and you're peeking at the phone from time to time and able to tap in something on the keyboard. I appreciate everybody that tunes in. Can't see how many of you are actually joining right now. Let's me pull up the window. Quite a few of you in, I'm sure. 173 of you. Thank you so much for joining. Spirits Work Tom down in Litchfield, he said, can't stay long tonight, but have a wee dram on me. Tom, you star, thank you so much. I'm going to raise a wee glass, a wee sip of this rather tasty and quite surprisingly good Omar. Slant you, Tom, thank you. That's quite incredible. I wonder how much this costs. I wonder how much it costs. Okay, there is a quiz tonight for anybody that's staying for the quiz at the end. I know I say this a lot, but I mean it this week. It's easy this week. It's much easier. I realised last week that nobody's complaining about this. Nobody's complaining about it being too easy or too difficult. That went on for a while before people worked out the kind of pitch, the level, and were very accepting of it. But I realised it's been a long time since anybody's scored the perfect 10 out of 10. And I thought, you know, just for kicks, I don't know, it must be the springtime optimism in me. I thought, let's make the quiz a wee bit easier. And I've tried to do that. Of course, my interpretation of easy might not be yours. Prestige Liquids is saying, Aquaviti, what do you mean by a salt and pepper whiskey? Talisker 10 is my definition of a salt and pepper whiskey. It's got that, the peat in it is really subdued and it's in the background. So you've got this ability, I think, with Talisker to taste floral notes and fruit and other things. But for me, Talisker 10, and I know it's me because I know so many of my friends love the stuff and they say, why don't you enjoy Talisker 10? And I know I really struggle. And I do enjoy it. I can enjoy it. I can drink it. It's just not one of my favorites. But for me, it's very briny, it's salty, and it's all about this kind of pepperiness, mid-palate through to the finish. So for me, those two things together kind of makes it that salt and pepper style of whiskey. Andrew, I hope that makes sense. See who you get along with it the next time you try a Talisker 10. Oh wow, I've had that's a new name and a virtual dram in from Triketra UK or Triketra. Triketra, I'll say UK. That's a new name, my friend. Welcome in. You've not left a comment, but thank you very, very much for your virtual dram. Next time that you drop a wee virtual dram, use the ability to make a comment. I'll be sure to give you a wee shout out, but I'll say thank you for your dram. Slanchip, my friend. Nice to welcome you here. Rolf is asking, what about the 18? It's a completely different animal. And I've had this argument in the past that people saying, oh no, come on, the 18 is just a more mature, and it might be to them, but to me, the 18 is a much richer, much deeper, much more multi-layered experience than the 10. The Talisker 18 is a very good quality crafted whiskey, and I love how it's presented. All Taliskers are 45.8% ABV, right? So decent presentation from Diageo on them in terms of their ABV. They're not that expensive either, if we're honest. The 18 is a much better prospect. And if anybody got a chance to try that Talisker 8 from the special releases of last year, oh my God, that's how Talisker should be. Peat, just so much peat, incredible amount of peat. You could easily pour that for people and convince them it was an Islay. Lovely, rich dram. Obviously, it's cask strength. The special releases 8-year-old from last year was a cask strength release as well. So it's different. but it was wonderful. Bronco Rog is saying, good to see you in, Bronco. He's saying, I'm glad to see the Whiskey Vault thing will be in October this year. Texas is much more bearable weather-wise in October than August. I actually loved going there in August last year. I loved the sun and the warmth and the heat. And for me, that was such a contrast. And I can imagine that it would become unbearable if it was kind of a chronic thing every summer that you were just kind of waiting for it to cool down again. But I loved being out there last year, and I'm really excited to join in October this year. Looking forward to going back again. Flights are already booked, and hanging out with all the other channels and whiskey folk that are going to be there as well. Wonderful. Daniel Vermas is saying every taste bud is different. Yeah. I get a lot of flack over Talisker and Bowmore. That's my two kind of whiskies that I don't get on with, but friends love. Whiskey Babbler is saying you should try the old Talisker 10 Stone Label or some older, which really have more the earthy style compared to pepper. Maybe you had it already. I like it very much. I've not tried any old bottlings of the old style Talisker 10. I wonder if that's easy to pick up. I wonder if that'd be something you could pick up at a reasonable price on auction, because I fully believe you that that's absolutely right. Toby Field is saying, I have a blind video to do with the Talisker 8. Be a nice one to watch, Toby. Did you think it was Isla at all? How blind was it? Did you know that there was only one Talisker in there or something? Love Street is saying the Talisker 8 is great. Absolutely agree with you, Love Street. It's a cracker, an absolute cracker. Emily McGill is saying, I prefer Lechick to Talisker if I'm going for that style outside of Isla. Yeah, I would say that, listen, Lechick is just a fantastic whiskey. I've yet to try the new Tobermory, the 12-year-old who's come out recently, and a couple of people are saying they liked it. A couple of people are kind of on the fence. I've not tried it, but I wasn't a huge fan of the 10-year-old Tobermory, but Lechick from Tobermory, fabulous, fantastic. Just a 10. Just a 10. There's lots of other ones available. We tried one recently that was a Madeira cask. Wonderful stuff. Eric Waite's saying there are many wines that on their own aren't such great as Alicante Boucher or Petit Verdot. I'm probably pronouncing those badly, but they add colour and floral notes in blends. The same principle can apply to whiskies as well. I think that's absolutely right. What I realised is that this would have been a fantastic subject to get a blender in the live chat on. So I'm going to kind of reach out, and if I can lure a blender in to coming on and talking about and giving us some insight to the challenges, because obviously for blenders, there's two things they're trying to do. They're trying to kind of create a very special thing to a specific concept, idea, recipe, style, whatever it is. And then there's core products that they're just trying to blend for consistency each time as well. It's quite incredible how they're able to do it sometimes. My best Talisker experience so far, the 28-year-old dram from Gordon MacPhail, 1955, a sherry cask strength aquavite, stunning. Gregor, I can imagine. Oh my goodness, Donald Rance, has sent a virtual dram as well. He's saying, hey, Roy, I'll catch up on the replay this weekend. I'm just about to hit the subway. Thanks for keeping it engaging with interesting topics. Cheers. Well, I hope it is interesting for you tonight. I was hoping to get a lot of input from you guys to what successes you've had blending and playing at home. Cheers, Donald. Sláinte, my friend. Kilted Moose is saying, I've had some lovely indie bottles of Bowmore. Official offerings, not so much. I feel exactly the same way. Triketra is here. He said, missed the opportunity to add a message. Been watching for the last few months and ordered a few coins under S. Gillespie. Just changed my name. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for ordering coins. And thank you for your virtual dram as well. And it's nice to welcome you in. I hope you chat and contribute going forward, and maybe tell me how I'm supposed to be pronouncing your name. Triketra. Wonderful. Toby Field is saying the Talisker 8 is going up against the Lagavulin 8 and Kilkerran 8. Fantastic lineup. Fantastic lineup. And what's incredible there is you've got three young. One of them's not so peat forward, but there's peat in it. But the other two, the Talisker 8 and the Lagavulin 8, are peat forward whiskies, but they're totally different styles. I think the Talisker 8 is much richer. I've never tried them side by side. Going up against the Lagavulin 8, that light, bright, fresh Lagavulin 8 that I love so much, and the Kilkerran 8, I love it as well. Whiskey Wizard. Wonderful. That looks like a new name as well. Whiskey Wizard is in saying, hey Roy, glad I could make it. My first live stream on YouTube. Just popped my Lagavulin 12 2017 edition as per your recommendation. I was getting a wee bit nervous about that. But listen, if you don't like Lagavulin 12 2017 edition, put the cork straight back in and I'll buy it off you. I love this stuff, as everybody knows. Whiskey Wizard, thank you so much for dropping in as I finish this wee dram of Nantu Omar, which I have to say, I'm quite glad to have in my collection. So I'll say thank you to you, Whiskey Wizard, and I'll say thank you to Gary for gifting me this bottle, my colleague from work. Cheers, Gary. Appearing in a blind taste challenge soon. Emery McGill is saying, I'd be interested to see a comparison between the new Glen Scotia peated rum cask and the Ardbeg drum. Yeah, that's a curious one as well, Emery. I've tried none of those. I've tried neither of those so far to date. I've got a couple of bottles over my shoulder I want to share with you when we're on the subject of being gifted things. I had a great opportunity to meet up with Dwayne Large. He was over in Scotland again. He's a serial visitor. He loves Scotland, and specifically Islay. And the last couple of times I've been fortunate enough to meet up with Dwayne. And the last time I took him along to Deanston. He'd never been to Deanston before. And we had a nice little tour together and had some lunch. Nice to hang out with Dwayne. But he left some gifts behind as well. And I just wanted to share them with you because they're fantastic. I was looking for him to join so that I could mention this, but I know that you'll probably pick it up in the replay. He's a star. But he bought a bunch of these Elijah Craig small batch bottles. I think this was a barrel share that he was involved in. He bought a bunch of these and he brought me over one of these to share. And I said, do you know what, Dwayne? I'll accept this. You've already given me one of these last year. And he said, I know, I wanted you to have another one. I said, I'll accept it on the condition that I try and find some way to share it at the gathering in May. So I'm currently working out a way to share this at the gathering in May with all of you guys and kind of spread the generosity of Dwayne in that way. I'm not going to be as generous with the next one, though. The reason I'm being generous with that is because he's given me one downstairs. This is a bottle of Eagle Rare, which I have never had. I've tasted, but I've never owned a bottle of it. And he gave me this. And this is a store pick Eagle Rare as well. So this is a single barrel from Vine and Table, which I think is in Indianapolis. This is one of Dennis's, I think, from Vine and Table. Single barrel. But I remember tasting Eagle Rare and thinking it was lovely. And it was in Texas last year. And we poured a quaich and passed it around when we were in the semi-secret tasting the day before the big event in Texas, hosted by Brad. And we passed around this quaich, and I was asked to make a toast with the quaich, and the toast was "There are no strangers in whiskey." And just as it was getting passed around, it got passed to the doorway, just as Chad and Sarah from It's Bourbon Night walked in the door, and they walked into this kind of ceremonial quaich passing thing, which was really quite fun. And I remember it was Eagle Rare that was in the quaich. So a nice blend of Scottish tradition and American whiskey there. So I'm going to keep this one and I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm going to say thank you so much to my friend and long-term supporter, Dwayne. He's a star. Thank you, my friend. So before we go on with the quiz, let's top off my nice bottle. See if I can bring that rock pool brininess back a bit. Add something nice, add something rich, add something of high quality. And then what I'll probably do to top it up later tonight is I'll go down and see what I've got in cask strength offerings. I'll look at my independent bottlings, my SMWS bottlings and things like that, and see what I've got that's quite nice that I can bulk it up a bit and give it a bit of spice and longevity on the shelf there, right? Stevie is saying, another good bottle, Aquavitae, 2 very nice bourbons. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Toby Field is saying the Whiskey Exchange also do the single barrel version of Eagle Rare. Fantastic. Nigel Slynn is saying, love the Eagle Rare. Might just pour myself a glass now. Good man, Nigel. Go right ahead. McAllen Fine and Rare are saying the Omars are 60 to 70 euros in Germany. 60 to 70 euros. I mean, that's getting close to Cavalan money, is it not? I may not do all of these. In fact, I tell you what I'm going to do. I was going to ask you guys to pick what I put in here, but I'm going to put all 4 in. Let's do it now. So what I've got here is I've got a 10 cl vial. Got a wee funnel to try and help me not spill too much. And I'll just do as a... He was talking about it earlier, putting 10 cl in at a time. But I've got a really nice whiskey here. This is Craigellachie, 23 years old. This is quite an expensive one. Maybe I'll just put a wee drop of this in because I think I'd like to share this out a wee bit. There we go. We'll put in a 50 mils, or sorry, 50 mils of Craigellachie 23. I've got Annock 24 here as well. This was my wife's Christmas present to me last year, not this year. 50 of that. And we'll top off this nice bottle. I don't need to write this down because I've got it recorded in video, right? Like I'll ever watch it back again. And we'll pop it in there. And just a whim, I grabbed another. This is an absolute cracker. Look at how much I've hit this. It's ridiculous. This is Deanston 12-year-old Palo Cortado. Palo Cortado is an incredibly interesting sherry. Is Eric Waite still in? Eric, share the story of Palo Cortado, how serendipitous it is and how difficult it is to make. Palo Cortado, I believe, is when Oloroso doesn't keep its layer of floor on top and the floor dies away. Creating a whiskey, a sherry that's really quite different. And Palo Cortado, I know Spanish, that means Palo is stick, and Cortado would be, to my mind, it would be short, but I think it's cut stick. And it's to do with the chalk marks on the barrels. So when the chalk mark has got a slash through it to say it's cut, it's become a Palo Cortado cask. And it's a different style of sherry then. They can't sell it as Oloroso because there's no layer of floor anymore. But this Deanston is fantastic. I mean, it was initially really, really super sweet, and then the savouriness started to come out. And now it just does that switch thing, literally, as you sip it, from sweet to savoury, and it casts strength as well. It wasn't a cheap Deanston, if I'm honest. This was about £80, £85. But you can see how much I've hit that. I've only had this bottle a month. It's gorgeous. Have been sharing it. I promise I have been sharing it. And finally, this Glencadam 15 has been sitting in the cupboard a wee bit too long. So let's get some Glencadam 15 in here for no reason other than it's completely different in character from everything else that I'm putting in. Much paler, much lighter, much more fruity, floral, malty style of whiskey. Here we go. See how much we've brought the level of this wee bottle up so that I can top it off with some cask strength. Maybe ex-bourbon cask, SMWS stock or something like that from downstairs. Here we go. There's the infinity bottle topped off. I'll pull up the camera so you can see. Looks really dark actually on camera. I don't know how dark that looks at your side, but it's not as dark as it's looking on camera to me. So I'm going to set that aside, leave it a few weeks, and maybe on a future live stream, I'll let you know what I added to it and how I'm getting on. Pull up the chat. Nigel Slynn is saying, I love Eagle Rare. Might just pour myself a glass now. Caught that comment. I hope you've poured it already, Nigel, and I hope you're enjoying it. Stevie is saying another good bottle. Caught that one too. Last drop is in. Chris Moore is in. Fantastic to see you in, Chris. Chris did his first live stream the other day because he did, received delivery of the bottle that I did as a giveaway to celebrate Ralphie's 10 years. I gave away one of my Glenallachie 12-year-old bottles. Now, it had already been won by J.K. Van Fleet, and J.K. Van Fleet, we couldn't find a way to get it to him, so he accepted another gift from me that I could ship to him legally, and he donated that back into the community, so that when Ralphie was here and Ralphie and I did the stream together, it was redrawn, and Chris Moore at the last drop won it, and I shipped it down to him with a t-shirt that I was gifted, and he did a live stream to pop open that bottle, which is really cool. Good to see you in, Chris. Emily McGill saying Eagle Rare is great, but store picks can be quite different from the regular bottlings, obviously. I'm speaking to whiskey people, of course, absolutely. Eric Waite's saying Master Sommelier. Well, you'd hope that being a store pick, it's not going to be so different to be bad. It's just going to be a bit of a different take on a theme. Master Sommelier Fred Dame says the best way to explain Palo Cortado is Palo Cortado. Thanks, Eric. Jeez. Somebody said something about plastic tainting something or other. Sorry, I missed. Here we go. Luna Aaron, good to see you in, Luna. Good to see you. Aquavita, is plastic not taking on too much taste? The stuff you pour into. Well, it's not going to be stored in plastic. It's literally just going to be very, very temporarily in plastic. And distilling, plastic is used quite often to store and move things around. I would suggest that that's quite an inert plastic. It's designed for liquids, right? Love Street is saying, don't do this, Roy. Oh, wow. Why not? Did you see the new Deanston Cream Sherry finish yet? I have not seen it, Doc. I've not seen it. I was at the distillery very recently, so maybe that's an export market release. They often do that at Deanston. Kevin Bryant, good to see you. And he's saying, lol, I feel another recycled review coming shortly. Right, you've read my mind. Jason's in. Jason Whiskey Wise is in. Good to see you, my friend, my moderator and sidekick. He's busy guy this weather. Hey, Roy Aquaviti, good evening. All good to welcome you, my friend. Good to have you here. Just in time for the quiz. You're not late. Don't worry about being late. Toby Field is saying you could do random giveaways of your infinity blends. Yeah, good idea. The Alchemist is saying loving the science, Roy. There is no science here, Sevi. I'll get you some glass cylinders, cleaner taste. So there's a couple of people saying that plastic might not be the best idea. Nigel Slynn is saying, Aquavita, yes, stuck to the Eagle Rare now. Really enjoy the nose especially. I'm now wondering, do I add some to my infinity bottle? Why not, Nigel? Why not? It's not that precious liquid, is it? The nose on this Lagavulin is pretty incredible. Whiskey Wizard is saying he's popped his 2017 Lagavulin 12. Did you enjoy this one with a little water? I did. I don't need water in it, but it's fun to add the water, and it definitely benefits from a wee splash. Eric Waite is saying, I think Fred Dame's meaning is Palo Cortado is sort of a mystery. It's not quite one thing and not quite another. That's what I mean about the serendipity of it. It's kind of taking care of itself. Would you agree, Eric? Have I got that right? Roy, have you tried the Dragon Stout from Deanston? No, there's too many Deanstons. The Callan Fine and Rare is saying Aquaviti Palo Cortado, a rare variety of sherry that is initially aged under floor to become a fino or amontillado. So I was wrong there. I thought it was Oloroso. But inexplicably loses its veil of floor and begins aging oxidatively, that's easy for me to say, as Oloroso. So I got it back to front a wee bit there. So I guess it's initially intended to be a fino or amontillado, but then ends up being something closer to Oloroso. We learn, don't we? Eric Waite is saying Aquavite, absolutely fantastic. Okay, it's 11 o'clock. McCann Fine and Rare is admitting that his source is Wikipedia, which is never wrong. So I'm struggling to remember what I have now. I have my two infinities side by side. Yeah, this is the briny one. One of the things I want to talk about quickly is the gathering. Well, there's so many of you in just now. 3 weeks, more or less, just over 3 weeks from now, a wonderful thing is going to happen. Scottish Test Dummies are going to arrive in Ireland and do a tour of Waterford Distillery and stay a few days there down in Ireland and Waterford. And Waterford are going to look after them and show them all the fantastic things that's happening down at that distillery. But instead of going straight home, they're going up to Dublin Airport and they're taking a flight over to Glasgow. On the Saturday, the day after they arrive here, we're getting together to do a tasting in the afternoon that's sold out, unfortunately. But that evening is the main event, and that is we're just going to get together. It's free and open to everyone. If you can make it to the Bon Accord in Glasgow on North Street, come along and say hello to Bart, to Scott, to myself, to Vin from No Nonsense Whiskey, potentially still to confirm, he's still to book his flights, Jason Whiskey Wise, Ben from Single Malt Alliance or Single Scotch Malt Whiskey Society as well. There's going to be a bunch of people there, but the most important thing is the amount of people that you know from in here is also going to be at the Bon Accord in North Street that night. Come along, and I will try and find a way to share drams with you while we're there. It'd be wonderful to meet you face to face and shake your hands in my hometown. I think it's just an exciting thing to do. There is a closed Facebook group that's been set up by Ebhead, the superstar Rolf, that is that's in here tonight. And you can apply. It's called Glasgow Whiskey Gathering. Rolf, if you want to, please paste the link in the chat, or perhaps I'll paste it in the description. But I'll ask kindly that you only join the group if you do have plans, or perhaps there's a good chance that you can make it to Glasgow that weekend and contribute from the point of view of either a Glasgow local who can offer decent places that's very easy and handy to move around to eat together over the course of the Friday through the Monday. Or perhaps you're looking for recommendations and things. You can work out what hotels people are staying at, where people are meeting up and what's happening. The first event of the weekend, is that time of night? Is at the Pot Still on the Friday night. All I'll ask is that please do the best you can to make water your best friend. Because the whiskies that I'm sharing on the tasting on the Saturday and the event that we're going to be having on the Saturday night at the Bon Accord, I'm hoping can be an opportunity for us to share some wonderful drams together. Stay hydrated, stay safe, stay lucid. Jez Batty saying Aquaviti, Jez and James from London Whiskey Club will be there too. I know, Jez, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to you guys being up again. Ben Martin is going to be there. He's saying Aquaviti, my Solera is made up from tastings from last year's Speyside Festival, which my son didn't drink. It wasn't nice. So I left it for 6 months, tried it again, and it had settled. Lovely, that's what I find. Don't get disheartened if you make a home blend, Infinity, Solera, whatever, and find that you've made a mess of it. It's tasting awful and it's lots of things just sitting on top of each other. That happens. Give it time. Give it lots of time. And even if you find after lots of time it's still not appealing, add other things in. I'm not saying you're going to be able to become a blender. It's just good fun. And I think what it ends up doing is it gives you an appreciation for the skill involved in blending. And imagine that you'd got to the point that you'd made a really nice Infinity or Solera or whatever. And then somebody said, that's a great job. Make me one of those. You know the skill that a blender needs to have then, because you know it's impossible unless you've listed down to the measure, down to the pour, what you've actually added there. There's no way you would be able to do it by nose, by palate. Michael Fine and Rare is saying, Jason Whiskey Wise will find you, no worries. I'll be wearing an Aquavite shirt. Well, that's the thing, is the guys that have appeared on video, like Ben, Jason, Vin, me, Bart, Scott, you know who we are, and we'll get to know who you are. So everybody will get to meet each other. Nigel is saying, recently won a 20cl sample of an old bottling of Tomatin Connoisseur's Choice by winning a quiz at a G&M tasting hosted by Ben Boyers. Ben, yes, he used to have his own channel. He did a fantastic thing for charity over the course of a year. Wonderful guy. I think I have all the Aquavite quizzes to thank. Yes, you do your studying here, don't you? The Alchemist is saying, happy to help with any info or stuff needing done that weekend. Sevi and Kilted Moose, Scotland Road, they're both local boys, and they'll be more than happy to help you out. And probably they'll be happy to pitch in supporting Rolf with all the great stuff that he's doing to bring people together. Thanks for that, Sevi. He's saying, we'll speak to Frank to see if he can help out with seats at the pot stall. That's for the Friday night. Wonderful stuff. Laura McGirt is saying, you all have fun and be safe at the gathering. You need to come over to the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games 1 July. Thanks, Laura. That's a great idea. I think that's one of the biggest ones. She's saying we have a blast every year. Fantastic. Okay, Jason, are you up for supporting with the quiz? I'd like to get the quiz underway tonight. I have promised everyone I'll show Ebhead's link to the Facebook group for anybody that's going to be involved in the gathering coming up. Okay. McAllen Fenrir is talking about, he's referring to the Limburg Festival this weekend. Yes, we did talk about that being a possibility for me, but alas, no. So many events, so little time, too little wallet, I'm afraid. Whiskey Jason is in. Good to see you in. Whiskey Jason from Germany as well. Everybody is saying quiz time. We've got 2 new names in. Jennifer Cercio. A bit far from North Carolina, but we'll take a dram in solidarity. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And I know that I've made a complete mess of your surname. I apologise. And Reese Dardis is in saying, been super interested in blending, but I think it would be more engaging to do it with friends over. Get some feedback. Absolutely. And then what you can do is have this little competition. I actually thought about doing an activity on YouTube, perhaps in collaboration with other channels and things like that, where we made the absolute best effort that we could make of blending at home and then sending it out and having a little competition to see who could come up with the best blend. I think Mash and Drum did something like that. In the end, I think he did a kind of bourbon thing. The only thing I would say about that is that it could be tricky to verify that somebody's actually made a blend rather than putting out a really fantastic single malt or a really decent blend that somebody else has made. But of course, it's all about trust, isn't it? So it might be fun to kind of develop that theme a little bit and come up with something. I think it could be an idea. Okay, I do have a quiz tonight, and I have suggested that tonight it should be a wee bit easier. So if you find yourself, you've been struggling to get a pass mark or get a decent score on the quiz, maybe tonight is your night. And if you're typically getting a decent score on the quiz, maybe tonight is the night that you'll hit that magical 10 out of 10. Make the bell ring at the top. Jason Coates is in. Great to see you. And Jason, thanks for joining us, saying not all bourbon. Okay. Jason Whiskey Wise is saying, right, let's do a blend challenge. The Aquavite blend challenge instead of blind challenge. Let's develop it, Jason. Let's see if we can come up with something. Whiskey Freedom is saying, I hope this quiz is a bit easier. Aquavite, I got 2 out of 10 last week. Sorry, Fraser. Sometimes they're a wee bit tricky. I think if I made them all easy, I think I'd get just as many complaints as I do if they're difficult. And Jason is saying, you always say it's easier. I know, but I feel like it really is easier tonight. I even scrolled through before I went live and I thought, there's some giveaway questions here, you know. Jimmy Jazz is saying easier, famous last words. Okay. How many have we got in? Let's pull up the counter. Some weird things going on with my computer tonight. Remember, the quiz is always multiple choice. Choice of 3 answers. You keep your own scores. Round about the halfway point, I'll ask you how you're getting on after the image question, the pictorial question, and yes, good luck. You're only playing against yourself. Is there anything else I've got to do, take care of, or pour? One thing I'll mention, well, you're getting ready for the quiz. The Glasgow Whisky Festival is in November this year. I forget the date, but last year it ended up being a bigger weekend because there was a Ralphie tasting, there was a gathering, we all got together and things. It turned out to be a really cool weekend. I have bought a bunch of tickets, and the reason I bought a bunch of tickets is that last year I really tried the patience of Julie, one of the organisers there, and one of the members of our Glasgow Whisky Club, by trying to get extra tickets and things, and trying to find ways of getting people in. And this year I decided I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to buy a bunch of extra tickets. So I have a few tickets still left. Not many. I can't promise everyone. It depends if I get a deluge. But if you're thinking about coming to Glasgow and you were interested in joining the session, it's 2 sessions. There's one in the afternoon and one in the evening. We're all going to the afternoon session, session 1. It's sold out. It's completely sold out. But if you are interested in coming, send me an email. Of course, it'll have to be first come, first served. If I have to say no, sorry, or they've gone or something, I'll just apologise now, because it's likely to happen. But don't be disheartened if you didn't get a ticket, because I have a few tucked aside. If you're able to get to Glasgow. Now, I just need to find the date for you. 2019 Glasgow Whisky Festival. The 9th of November, Saturday, the 9th of November in Glasgow. So there you go, 9th of November is the Glasgow Whisky Festival. And hopefully we'll be getting together on the Saturday evening as well. There's no arrangements or promises right now. But yes, Rolf was saying, awesome, Roy, I have one this year. I know we spoke at the time, Rolf. You managed to get your own. Wonderful stuff. Everyone is saying what I found my accidental blend was it took 2 whiskies that were relatively simple in their taste profiles individually, but when blended made them more complex in a very nice way. What would be interesting, everyone, is for you to take a decent chunk of both of those whiskies, put them in a small bottle and put them to the side, see how it develops over time. Tom R is a new starter. Good to see you in, Tom. Aquavite, I like when I don't score well. It means I am learning new things. That's a fantastic perspective and a great way of looking at it, Tom. Okay, let's get this quiz underway. Try and manage this. Good luck, everybody. Keep your own scores. Question 1. George Smith is a signature appearing on the label of which single malt? A. Glenfarclas, B. Laphroaig, or C. Glenlivet? George Smith is signed. It's a signature that appears on these bottles. Is it A. Glenfarclas, B. Laphroaig, or C. Glenlivet? What do we think? Let's jump in and see what you guys think. George Smith. I'm fairly certain this is an easier quiz this week. But it's like always, if you know it, you know it, right? The answers are pouring in already. People are starting to favour C. Let's jump back in and give you the answer before anybody's had time to Google it. The answer for question 1, George Smith, is the signature that appears on Glenlivet bottles. So if you answered C, give yourself a point. Let's see, Rich Hall, Whiskey Dram, Scott Mills, Alchemist, Rolf, Marku, Jens Roger Christofferson, Captain 3D saying, oh dear. Chris Banks Wildlife, good to see you. Chris, Jason Coates, Whiskey Jason, Nigel Slynn, most of you, Kildred Moose, Tony Evans, Jules, Michael Johnson. Wow, everybody seemed to think C with very few discrepancies. Tasmanian Whiskey Taster is saying, great to hear. Tony Nelson, I took a peek. Okay, that's a new name in Tasmanian Whiskey Taster. Good to welcome you here. Are you in Tasmania? That means it's Friday morning for you. It's good to see you in. Okay, let's move on to question 2. Question 2 is, Mirador was a special single malt released by which producer? Who released Mirador as a single malt? Was it Wolfburn? A. Was it Balcones? B. Or was it Macmira? C. Mirador was a special single malt released by A. Wolfburn, B. Balcones, or C. Macmira. Mirador. I have a bottle. I got to try it last year. Thought it was fantastic. Bought a bottle on the spot. I think I've given everybody this as a giveaway. So I'm going to just share it with everybody. That is indeed B. Balcones. So if you answered Balcones, give yourself a point. Looks like absolutely everybody has answered B on this one. It's an absolute giveaway question, I think. Well done if you answered B for Balcones. Question 3. I think it's another damn easy one. Brown-Forman own brands such as Jack Daniels and Woodford Reserve. And A, Glencadam, B, Glenallachie, or C, Glenglassaugh. Who does Brown-Forman own in the north of Scotland there? Is it A, Glencadam, B, Glenallachie, or C, Glenglassaugh? Which distillery do they own? There was a lot of worry when Brown-Forman took over about what was going to happen there. But from my perspective, this ship seems to be sailing relatively steady. Would you agree? I think I've given you another giveaway question, as I suspected, because literally everybody is answering C for Glenglassaugh, and it is, of course, Glenglassaugh. Brown-Forman own Glenglassaugh along with Benriach and Glendronach. Question 4. I think this is easy too. Which distillery is connected to the famous quote, "By order of the king to make aquavitae 8 balls of malt," from 1494? Now, this is a famous quote because it was the first time that there is a written record of Scotch whisky production, or the closest thing that there was to Scotch whisky production to distillation back then, from 1494. And it was, of course, a religious gent by the name of John Corr, and this was his written record: by order of the king to make aquavitae 8 balls of malt. But which distillery is it most closely related to? Is it A, Lindores, B, Eden Mill, or C, Kingsbarns? A, Lindores, B, Eden Mill, or C, Kingsbarns? Greg is saying he's been there. Okay. So whatever Greg answers, I would copy him. Maybe we're all going to get 10 out of 10 tonight. Maybe it's just going to be a big, fantastic 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 extravaganza. It looks like almost everybody is saying A for Lindores. Let's have a wee look. The quote about Friar John Corr is in fact very closely related to Lindores. And in fact, they have a release called Aquavitae, which is a whiskey infusion. So it's a kind of a, I guess, the way that whiskey would have been drank way before the days of maturation, but it's infused with, and to me, it's very cloves. It tastes of lots and lots of cloves. Very nice, and I think that people that are into that kind of thing really enjoy it. It's not really to my taste, but I do like the name, Aquavitae, right? Here's where I think it's going to get a wee bit tricky. This is the pictorial question, so tell me where you think this is. What distillery are we looking at there? Quite ugly and pretty at the same time, I think you'll agree. But is it A, Tormore, B, Royal Bracla, or C, Glenmurray? A, Tormore, B, Royal Bracla, or C, Glenmurray? I'll leave that up there, as I always do. Can have a wee private sip of my dram in the background. Does that look like a Tormore to you? Does it look like Royal Bracla? Or does it look like Glenmurray? I would have to say this one has split people a wee bit better. Vast majority. Connor Strang is in as well. Good to see you in, Connor. How are you keeping? Sanjeev is in as well. Superb, Sanjeev. Good to see you. Thomas McCrory, you star. Good to see you. Joining. Vin is in from No Nonsense Whiskey. Wonderful to see you all in. And it looks like the majority of you, but there is quite a split here. Think it's B, Royal Bracla. Let's have a look. It is, of course, Royal Bracla. I have to be honest with this thing, is that when I found this picture of the distillery, I was quite surprised. I realised I'd never actually seen Royal Brackla. Don't even know if there's a visitor centre there. So I thought that one would be a wee bit tricky. So let's see how the scores are at halfway point. Jason Whiskey Wise is saying, all I know, Royal Brackla has a pond, which I want to fish in. And then brand ambassador said no. Glenfiddich has a pond as well. There's quite a few ponds outside a lot of distilleries. Maybe you'll have better luck elsewhere. I always make a mess of your name as well, my friend. Svet Otsar Lazarov. Hi, Roy. Sorry I'm late, but still came before the end of the quiz. Yeah, let's see how you get on with the last few questions, my friend. And you can go back and pick up the rest on the replay. Nigel Slynn is on 5 out of 5. Jason Coates, 5 out of 5. Fantastic. Thomas Elmer and Whiskey Radar, both on 5 out of 5. Jules GUK, that's a new name in, Jules. Welcome and well done on a 5 out of 5. Marku is on a lucky 5 out of 5. Prestige Liquids, Andrew, 5 out of 5. Multi-Haggis Muncher Matthew, you star, 5 out of 5. I told you this is an easier quiz. So even with there being what I potentially thought could be a banana skin with Royal Brackla in there, there's lots of 5 out of 5s. Jiganat Putu, 5 out of 5. Kilter Moose Scott, you star, 5 out of 5 as well. Whiskey Wizard, 5 out of 5 on all guesses. First quiz luck. Gordon Finney is on 5 out of 5, pure luck. Wow. Sid Martin, you star, 5 out of 5. Richard Hall, I guess 5 out of 5. Listen, it's just a bucket. Look at it. It's easy. 5 out of 5, Love Street. Wonderful stuff. Lots of big scores. Let's move on and see if we can maintain that scoring on the back nine, right? Question 6. Which whiskey channel is where fine spirits meet? Is it A, whisky.com, B, the Whiskey Guy, or C, the Bourbonite? Where do fine spirits meet? Is it whisky.com? Is it B, the Whiskey Guy, or C, the Bourbonite? Told you it was going to be easier. Giving you all a break tonight. Maybe I was just feeling in that mood. Yes, a giveaway question. I thought it would be. I'm going to give everybody that and say that, of course, where fine spirits meet is the tagline for whisky.com. So if you answered A, give yourself a point as we move into question 7, which I'm hoping is going to be a bit trickier. Not really. It's another easy one. Which of these is not a currently operating Japanese distillery? So what I'm looking for here is what is not a currently operating Japanese distillery. Is it A, Miyagikyo, B, Chichibu, or C, Tamura? Which of those is not currently operating Japanese distillery? Miyagikyo, A, Chichibu, B, Tamura, C. A, Miyagikyo, B, Chichibu, C, Tamura. Let's see how you're answering here. Is this tricky or is this dead easy as well? I think this is dead easy. Jason Whiskey Wise has answered C, as has most. Wow. Almost everybody don't recognize a distillery called Tamura. Fantastic. Let's have a look and see if you're right. One of these is not a Japanese operating distillery. And it is, of course, C for Tamura. So if you answered C, give yourself a point. And I'll tell you that the other two are definitely operating Japanese distilleries. And Tamura is a company that I used to work for, a Japanese company. I got to travel to Japan with them and everything. It was fantastic. And I believe Tamura is Japanese for rice field. Eric Waite is saying, Aquaviti, that question was difficult to pronounce. You're right, Eric. Okay. Is this any trickier? I think this is quite easy as well. I'm looking for lots of 10 out of 10s tonight. Let's have a look at this one. Spot the odd one out. One of these is the odd one out. Is it A, Bailey Nickel Jarvie? Is it B, Deerstalker? Or is it C, William Lawson's? A, Bailey Nickel Jarvie, B, Deerstalker, or C, William Lawson's. It's good fun, this. I often wish that I was on the other side sometimes with these quizzes, and I wonder how I would fare. I think they're good fun, and I like whiskey quizzes myself. Let's see how you guys are picking with this one. Looks like some people going for A. Most, the vast majority is saying B. Danielle 2 is saying B. Good to see you in, Danielle. That looks like a new name. Nice to welcome you here. Almost everybody saying B. Jimmy Jazz is stabbing a guess at C, I think. Let's have a wee look. Which of these is the odd one out? And I'll tell you why. It's B. The other two, Bailey Nickel Jarvie is a blend. C. William Lawson's is, of course, a blend. And Deerstalker is an undisclosed single malt. Now, somebody, Danielle, I think was the name, spotted that and said outright that Deerstalker is a malt. So if you answered B for that one, give yourself a point. Going to the last two questions. Question 9. Which of these distilleries is the furthest north? Which is the furthest north? I hope this is a banana skin. Let's go fast. Is it A, Dalmore, B, Dornoch, or C, Glenord? A, Dalmore, B, Dornoch, or C, Glenord? Which is the furthest north? Let's see if this could separate. Now, Prestige Liquids is saying 9 out of 9. That's not possible. You've only had 8 questions, Andrew. You're miscounting one. Imagine you're meaning 8 out of 8. Everybody for this one. Ooh, Season B's, Season B's, Season B's. Anybody think it's Dalmore? Anybody think it's Keith Corbett thinks it's Dalmore? B's. Rolf is saying has to be Dornoch. Lots of people saying B for Dornoch. Let's have a wee look. Which is the furthest north of these 3 distilleries? And it is the tiny Dornoch. Dornoch is the furthest north of those 3 distilleries. So if you answer B, give yourself a point. We're moving to the last question. How many of us are on 9 out of 9? Because I've thrown in a stink grenade for the last question. It's still something you can have a decent guess at, for sure. DH Silva's saying you get 1 point for showing up Aquaviti. I'm fine with that, my friend. That's no problem at all. Multi-Haggis Muncher, Matthew, you star 9 out of 9. Kilted Moose, 9 out of 9. Thomas Elmer, 9 out of 9. Prestige Liquids, Andrew's on 9 out of 9. And how many other 9 out of 9s? Jason Coates looks like he's admitting to having 9 out of 9. Good man, good man. Kilted Moose is saying bricking it. Whiskey Wizard is saying my first quiz luck shall prevail. Jules, GUK is on 9 out of 9 as well. Whiskey Radar, 9 out of 9. This is kind of fun because I can see that so many of you are like, oh God, let's hold it together for a 10 out of 10. I told you I was going to be a wee bit nicer tonight and just make this quiz just that wee bit more accessible. So I don't know how much you've learned or been inspired or you had your curiosity piqued by tonight's quiz, but it's good fun, isn't it? It's good fun. Okay, let's have a wee look at the very last question. I think this is the toughest one, but it's still a 1 in 3 chance of getting it. So, according to the IWSR, the only whiskey category to be forecasting any regional contractions is... Now, let me explain this question. Okay, the IWSR, they usually do a 5-year forecast to all the whiskey industry and all the drinks industry in general, I think, as to where the markets are going up, down, or backwards or whatever. And whiskey right across the board is forecasting growth in all its markets in all the regions. And there's only one section of whiskey that's forecasting some minor contractions in a couple of markets. That's how optimistic it is. It's tiny contractions that they're forecasting. It's only one. And is it A, Scotch, B, Canadian, or C, Irish? A, Scotch, B, Canadian, or C, Irish. In a couple of markets, and I think it's South America and Africa or something like that, one of these sectors, they're forecasting a shrinkage, slight, small shrinkage. But it's amazing, the confidence and the optimism right across the industry. The forecast is boom times will continue for the most part. It's growth by value, I believe, not necessarily volume. Lots of people, is dividing people. It's dividing people. People either seem to think it's Scotch or Canadian. Nobody thinks that Irish is forecasting shrinkage in any market. And I would have to say that's a good thing to guess. Tricky question, but I like to throw these ones in from time to time. It's quite fascinating to me. And it is, of course, as so many of you guessed very well, Canadian is the only one that's shown any sign of shrinkage. And even then, it's tiny, it's insignificant, and it's only in a couple of markets. So if you answered B, give yourself a point and let me know where that leaves you. Tell us how you're scoring. Reese is saying, not a fan of much so far. Is that Canadian you're talking about? And DH Silva is saying, no way Scotch drops, in my opinion. Let's hope so. Connor Strang is saying 100% 9 out of 9. Gordon Finney saying 9 out of 10. Bugger, unlucky, Gordon, unlucky. Were you not here then, Connor Strang, for the one of the questions, perhaps? Thomas Elmer, you star, got a 10 out of 10. Well done. Per Christensen, 9. Drum Session, 9. Mose, nice to have you in. Mose, he's saying 8 out of 10, still learning. That's a great score, brilliant score. Gordon Finney, 9, as he's already admitted. Scott Mills, 9 out of 10. What 10 out of 10s have I missed? Graham Young, 7. Steve A, 9. Kilted Moose, boom, 10 out of 10. Pours a cat strength of Lefroy. Good for you, Scott. Mark, who got 10 out of 10 as well, you star. Another 10 out of 10. Sid Martin got 10 out of 10 as well. Well done. Whoop, whoop. Whiskey Wizard, 10 out of 10. Lots of 10 out of 10s tonight. It's been so long since we've had them. We had to kind of just have a bit of a release and have lots of people picking up a decent score. Have I missed anybody on 10 out of 10? Thomas Elmer is saying, celebrate, celebrate. You made it easy so you could get a bunch of questions for future quizzes. No, I just wanted to see how it would go down if I made the quiz a wee bit easier. To be honest, as I admitted earlier, I don't get complaints anymore. Way back at the start, I used to get a lot of complaints about the quiz being so hard, and then people kind of just settled into it and understood that that's what it was. Whiskey Wizard is saying Canadian whiskey is certainly improving with some smaller distilleries. Yeah, I think the sector is still showing massive growth forecasts right across the board. And as I say, it's only just in a couple of markets that it's shown any forecast of contraction. And that's probably down to saturation in those markets and competition from other regions. Whiskey in the 6. Rob is in. Wow. Did I see somebody waving to Rob? Is Rob actually in? He said, Whiskey Radar is saying Aquaviti Whiskey in the 6. I think Rob alone is saving the Canadian market. Yeah, him and Daniel, Whiskey Throttle, both big supporters on YouTube of Canadian whiskey. Love Street is saying, great night, Roy. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. Love Street. Well done to everybody. Richard Hall is saying 10 out of 10, unless guesses only count as half marks, in which case 5. No, Richard, you've got a full house. Well done, my friend. And Gigina Putu is saying my first 10 ever. There you go. Consider it generosity from me tonight. I wanted to see how it would go down with a slightly easier quiz, just a bit more fun tonight, and make you feel, make you understand just how knowledgeable a community you actually are. It's quite intimidating at times, if I'm honest. Andrew Prestige Liquids is saying a quiz for Roy. What are the 2 grains that go into Star Wars twofold, a wheat and barley, or B, barley and rye? I'm going to say I know about the start, and I remember the cool label on the twofold. Never tried it, of course, but I'm going to suggest that it's wheat and barley. There you go. Twofold is wheat and barley. Tell me if I'm right, Andrew. Pure guess. I feel like I'm right, but I'm probably wrong. So it normally happens. Jason is saying, don't know how I'd have guessed on 10 now that I see the question. Okay, I don't know how you got on, Jason. Wonderful stuff. Good fun. Another nice night. Thank you very, very much for lifting my spirits and helping me kind of get through these tough times that I'm kind of going through just now, trying to kind of just negotiate my last few days of working as a salaried employee. Interesting times ahead for sure. Do you know anybody that needs some branding work done? No, I'm only kidding. I'm very, very busy. And that's a genuine jest. Prestige Liquids is saying, you're correct, sir. You're now in the quiz. Fantastic. Malted Man Cave is in. Keith, you star. What's up, all? Tryptophan, I think he's saying, trying to catch the tail end in the car on the way home from work. So maybe you're either swipe typing or text typing. I'm not sure. Mr. Aquavita, my roommate, came in with a question. Rude roommate, Jason. Give yourself a 10 out of 10. Fantastic. Listen, I've had a great night. There's not so many vPubs left, actually, to the summer break. I was thinking tonight, I have to make it shorter than last year. I disappeared for 2 months last year, and it was just a wee bit too long. I missed a lot of things happening in summer last year from taking too long a break. So what I'll probably do is let it go into July and then come back and do a live stream at the end of August. I don't have the Texas trip coming into August this year. They've moved that out to October, so it should make it a lot easier to do that as well and have a regular vPub relaunch again at the end of August. So the summer shutdown, the summer break, if you like, will only be the end of July into the majority of August. But that means that there's only about 5 vPubs left until the summer break. So I hope that you're not getting too tired of these and you'll continue joining me up until then. I love looking forward to these nights hanging out with all you guys. I hope that I can keep being inspired by all of you. Thanks to everyone tonight for the inspiration for tonight's theme, for resurrecting this idea. And I realized that the reason I hadn't brought it and done a live stream on this before is because I didn't feel confident to talk about it. And then I realized that it doesn't matter because it's all about you sharing what you do. And you're maybe just curious as to what I'm doing in terms of home blending and things like that. And it's really not a science at all. It's just good fun. So thanks everyone for the inspiration for making me talk about this kind of cool, fun thing to do in whiskey. It doesn't have to be serious discussions all the time, does it? Thanks to everybody that gave me a very, very generous super chat. Thanks especially to all my very recent patron supporters who've come on board recently with lots of wonderful supportive messages as well. Just fires. Then it just keeps me going. It's wonderful that whiskey can do this. It's wonderful that I have this privilege as well. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Jason for coming in and helping to moderate the quiz tonight. You're a star, Jason. I'm looking forward to giving you a handshake and a big hug, and I hope that we meet in Glasgow in May. I'm looking forward to meeting so many of you in May, but there's another live stream, there's another vPub going to happen before that May event, and I'm still playing with ideas about things that we can do, bringing live streams to you throughout May. If we find internet, if we find pockets of time that we can share with you the things that we're doing as a kind of toe in the water tour for the dummies while they're here. That would be wonderful. So thanks to you all for joining. I have literally a tiny wee sip of my infinity bottle left, and I'm going to raise this as I say thanks to you all for joining. The mash and drum, Jason has just dropped in at the dying embers as well. Jason, nice to see you, my friend. Good to welcome you in here. Thanks to you all for joining again tonight, and I look forward to seeing you at the first vPub of May. So until next time, my whiskey loving friends, my whiskey folk, my barflies, my patrons, my supporters, everybody, I love you all. I'll raise a glass and say Sláinte mhath until next time.